You're live. Okay, new hold potential inappropriate messages for review. Let's say flag in chat. New hold potentially inappropriate.
New what?
Will be flagged in chat for you or your moderators to approve or remove them on or off at any time in your chat settings.
Oh, it's people in the chat.
Yeah, that's if it's. We'll just leave it in there. Fuck it. I'm sure no one will go crazy. Hey, what's up? Let's see here. Yeah, it's like an option that if someone, I guess, writes something super offensive or something, you can just like
delete.
But I don't know how much that thing goes. So
how many people are gonna like start doing it like all your shit?
Yeah,
we'll chat.
Yeah, we'll just have to shut it down immediately.
Jesus.
I didn't know how to turn it off if it started, so let's see.
That's fine.
Hey, what's up, dude? Let's see here. Participation, pop out chat, toggle. Yeah, I have no idea how to do any of this.
What is that?
Top chat, like all messages are visible. Some messages such as potential spam may not be visible. Okay. We'll leave it on top chat. Welcome to the live chat. Okay. First of all, big fan of your work, your training, work, so thanks a lot. No problem, buddy. What's up, bro? Love the channel. Keep it up. Thanks, Boogs and Vito. So we already got 19 people in here. Cool. All right, guys, so just start shooting off questions. This can be concept stuff, technique stuff, whatever. I think we'll be going for like an hour or something. So, but yeah, I think we already got 19 people. Yeah. Yeah, I think you can stretch and stuff. It's not like, you don't have to be like 100% focused the whole time. Sweet. Greetings from Romania. What's up, Christian? From the cross guard, how do you deal with an opponent who postures and internally rotated their knee? From there, I can either hit matrix, Cobrinha sweep, or X guard entry. Is your leg inside the elbow knee space? Giovito, like here? Stand up. Yeah. So you're saying from cross guard, right? Here, I gotta see. Turn this here. There we go. Okay, so you're talking about from cross guard. I may need to angle this up a little bit more, but you can see for now. You're saying the guy internally rotates his knee. I'm assuming you mean like the foot's more that way, right? Is your leg inside this space? Because if your leg is inside this elbow knee space, from here it should be pretty easy to switch over for the matrix here like this and start to scoot around to the matrix, right? But if your leg is outside here, so it's like your elbow type, but internally rotate here, it can be a little bit harder. So is that what you're referring to? Vito? No, it's not. So your leg is not in the elbow knee space. Is that correct? Vito? Is the audio good? Can everyone hear me good? Did the Wi-Fi go out or something?
That should be fine.
Okay. Okay, so you're no, not inside the space. Okay, I got you now. Cool. Okay, so you're here, right? So if the elbow and knee is tight, so go elbow tight. I almost don't even count that as cross guard. I mean, it is like you have the crossing in the underhook, but for me, most of that series starts when your leg's inside, right? So if I'm caught outside like this and I have the cross sleeve, I'm usually trying to keep this right foot here up in the bicep. Turn this way just a touch. Right, like I'm trying to keep this right foot up here engaged. Can I go back this way? Right. Okay, I'm usually trying to keep here. So if his elbow and knee is tight, or sorry, elbow, yeah, like that. Okay, I can try to get this to open sometimes and shoot in, but for sure the guy can stay tight. You have a couple options here. You could still go for a matrix if you want, but you got to do one of these like gable grip ones. It requires a lot more flexibility on this, honestly. So you would go here and kind of, no, keep the elbow tight. Yeah. You would go here and you kind of shoot your knee inside like this, right here like this. And here you could spin up for it there and start to hit there and pull up into it there, right? So that's one variation where you do like the gable grip. If it's really tight here and I can't get the space to open, I can leave this De La Riva hook in and start to scoot out over here, and I can either release to go up for the hip and start pulling around this way and going more of a classic back take. A lot of times if I'm here like this and I start to look for that other stuff, or I start to stay here, they will pop their leg straight to get rid of this hook, pop their leg straight like this, and that will open that gap up. and then all those other attacks start to open. Worst case, if I just feel really stuck here and I have this cross sleeve and this elbow knee is tight, I might like go to the underhook and switch back to like a classic De La Hiva, and then I can push off the hip and go deep lace and start doing more of a classic De La Hiva game. So the big thing is like if you don't have that elbow knee space already, it can be a bit more tricky for sure, right? So either look for that gable grip matrix option or switch back to like a classic De La Hiva or stuff like that. Okay, so the chat is a bit delayed. Okay, cool. Well, I guess that's fine because we're not talking real timing, so that's good. I love your channel. Hello from Ireland. Hey, buddy. I'm going to be in Ireland beginning of August, by the way, at Sligo's gym. I don't remember what city it's in, but I'll keep you guys updated. Let's see here. My mind goes completely when I'm sparring. I forget all my techniques. Any advice? Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So the question was, your mind goes completely blank when you're sparring. That's pretty normal. And I think that's because if you're in a position where you don't know what to do or you don't know all the possible combinations, it's more natural for your mind to go blank. So if you kind of cone in where you're sparring from, it will be easier for you to figure out what to do, right? So for example, I was working with a guy today who's only trained like twice, right? So what I did for the training was I had him start in the triangle choke. So let's just say, so basically long story short, the answer is going to be specific training, right? Which is, I often make that an answer for my problems, but like, so just go to triangle choke. So the guy I was working with, he had never trained jiu-jitsu before, right? So I just had him start in the triangle choke here. I showed him some basics on how to finish the triangle choke, getting the arm across, right? And then maybe what to do if the guy grabs your lapel, you break and try to go across, what to do if the guy tries to stack, you start stacking a little bit. Like here, and like trying to work your hip back and start introducing some stuff like that, right? Then I have the guy spar from that position only, starting from the triangle choke. And because of that, like it's easier, even though it's his second class ever, right? It was easier for him to spar from there because it's like, okay, the guy's trying to stack me. I'm supposed to do this. And like, he's trying to do this. And then if we got somewhere where he didn't know what to do, we could stop it and go, okay, well, you can try this here. And because it's very isolated, it's easy to figure out what to do, right? But if I took that same guy, showed him just a triangle choke, and then I go, okay, now we're going to start standing and there's no grips. It's way too complicated then, right? Then you're just like all over the place. You don't know how to get anywhere. So I would say for you, the reason your mind is blanking is because if you start a match, go ahead and stand up, and you're relatively new, like even most guys at like brown belt, black belt level don't have a clear vision of their game from like a position like this. For me, I know so many positions that when the match starts, I can go, okay, I'd like to get a sleeve grip first, but I got to take what he gives, right? So put your hands forward. So like maybe here I go, okay, I got a sleeve. If I can turn this into a lasso here like this, then I can start building the double sleeve. If he grabs this, if he keeps this away and I can't get that, now I can build off a cross sleeve game. His elbow and knee is tight, maybe, say tight this one. Then I can go to a deep lace really quick. If he opens it, I can shoot in here. And then if he turns, I come down. If I get into a triangle somehow, then I know what to do, right? So for me, all jiu-jitsu is a combination of those mini games. I just know so many that I always know exactly what to do, right? For you, it's less like that because you're newer. So you really need to take one position at a time and kind of develop it, and you'll know what to do in that position you're working on, but not necessarily on all of them, right? If that makes sense. No problem, buddy. Any link to your seminar in August? I'll share it on my Instagram again recently, but it's at Sligo BJJ. I don't know if that's a city or yeah, but I'll post it. Can you give nutritional advice to reduce inflammation and improve recovery? I feel like it's a little bit off my scope. Generally, I try to eat like, there was a book, Grappler's Guide to Sports. Your Uki has the best beard in the world. That's Kevin Nadiri, though.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, generally, as far as diet goes, I follow the Grappler's Guide to Sports Nutrition. John Berardi wrote that book a long time ago. I read that, and I just kind of follow that. I just try to eat like healthy carbs, like sweet potato, quinoa, brown rice, stuff like that. I try to eat like good protein sources like lean chicken, lean steak, fish, broccoli. It's like nothing fancy, but it's like a bit off of my expertise, so I wouldn't go too in depth on that. What do you like to? This is Kevin Danzler. What do you like to do when someone is in a squatted posture and you can't get the De La Hiva
or beat the elbow knee space? Kevin Danzler, are you talking about from collar sleeve? Mr. Danzler. There's probably a delay here, so we'll see. Yes, sir. Okay, good question.
So if I'm here in collar sleeve, let's turn it this way. Perfect. Yeah, I think that's probably good. Yeah, so if I'm in collar sleeve, I kind of break it down to 3 scenarios. If this elbow and knee is really connected tight, then usually this daily heel hook is going to be strong. If he pops his leg straight, that makes it really hard to do a hook, right? But then this gap here opens. Let's turn this right to it. Okay, then this gap here opens, right? So then it's easy to come inside this space and open to the omoplata and stuff, right? But let's say there's 1/3 scenario that can happen, which sometimes you lose this, and then the guy turns his toes out really wide like this, right? So his elbow and knee is tight, and his toes are kind of wide. That can be a difficult situation because now I can't get the daily heel hook in, and I can't get inside that space. So usually what I do here is if I need to, I'll lasso and create a little space. You can keep a little close, right? And I'll create a little space, and I'm going to go through this gap down here. My right foot, I try to keep in the bicep. Let's turn this way a little bit. Okay. My right foot, I keep in the bicep. I try to be sticky with this, right? So I'm going to loop and go in here. Once I come inside this space, I'm trying to find the right way. Then we need to go this way. See, yeah, you can see it. Okay. So once I kind of go inside this space, it's easy to start looking for posture a little bit. It's easy to start looking for this space from the inside. You see, so keep your elbow tight. You see how basically I couldn't get in from the outside. So what I do is I go in this shallow little gap here under the shin and elbow, and I come back up in here. And from here, I can start sneaking in and hooking there, right? So again, I know it's hard to get that on like the perfect angle. I'm here, but the daily heave, let's take it back. Yeah, if the daily heave is in and his elbow's on the inside, I'll often off balance up like this, and then that'll open the space sometimes that I get in. I can keep the hook in, start looking if he pops his leg straight, then this opens the space over here. But in this case, his toes are turned out really wide, his elbow's really tight, that's difficult. Okay, I might go to a lasso, I push to get a little space like this. So I kind of do that anti-stack motion, push back. I might even let go of the collar sometimes just because it gives me more space. And then I go inside this shallow space here, right? Now, if we turn this way, right? So now I'm going to leave this leg up in the air so you can see my leg would be up here. I'm just showing you. Once I go from here into here, this left foot can kind of slip up into this angle here. So my right foot would be in the bicep here. So once I get here, I can start pushing. Good spin there, right? I come through here like this. Yeah. See, once I start coming through here, yeah, that's a good angle. See, now this can start coming up in here, and I catch it. You stay tight. Yeah, like I start hooking him with that heel behind the armpit, and now I can shoot over there, right? That was an excellent question, though.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Botudo asked, have you ever had a rib injury? Yeah, they suck. They're really bad. Man, those are one of the hardest to heal. You know, they usually heal. I mean, I don't know how bad yours is, but they usually heal. It just takes a bit of time. There's really not any easy way to deal with that one. Unfortunately, just try to, stick with light drilling. Try to work stuff you can. Try to avoid really sparring hard because, man, those rib injuries are really rough. They really are hard to recover from, but it'll get better. You know, usually takes like a month or two. Let's see here. What is it?
I saw, was it rib or toe injury?
Rib.
Rib.
Rib. Yeah. Toes you can tape, I guess. Yeah. What do you think about single leg X for someone who's long? I heard that it's not the best for long legs. Do you have any tips for single leg X for long people? Yeah. So generally, I think it was Keenan talking about this recently. There's definitely some truth to like certain guards fit better for certain body types. I would say, honestly, I think mobility is a bigger concern for like what guards are more or less effective. But I think it's a really like dangerous thing to like, not dangerous, like someone's getting hurt, but like, I don't think it's the most useful way to think about developing your game. Like, for example, just single leg X, like people saying it's not great for like long people. Like Leandro has been amazing with the single leg X for a long time, like sweeping everyone to like all belt levels. So I think it works really good for tall people. I use it all the time. I love it. It's worked great for me versus a lot of guys. Half guard, people are like, oh, it's not for long people. But then you have guys like Jeff Glover, Ryan Hall, like Jake McKenzie, they play it. And I've been playing half guard more recently. I feel really good with it. Probably if you really go super deep on all these positions, like if everyone played everything perfectly, maybe there's some positions that are a little bit easier on your height. But I think the problem with that thought is that more likely what people are doing is they're going, oh, I'm short, so I shouldn't play this game, right? In reality, I think in the beginning, you should pick a position and get good at it just for the sake of understanding it, right? Like I may end up not playing a lot of half guard in the long run, but I want to play it just so I know how to play it. Once I know how to play a position from a position of knowledge, then I will go, okay, you know what? This isn't for me right now. Maybe I'll play something else more, right? But that's when I understand how to do it. Too often I see people go, oh, Spider Guard's not my style, and then they don't learn it, right? But like I started playing Spider Guard early in my career, and I'm tall and stuff, but I learned a lot of stuff from Cobrinha, and Cobrinha had a killer Spider Guard, and he was like very short relative to people in the division, right? So I wouldn't try to box yourself in based off of your physical body type for what guards you should play. You should learn to play Spider, learn to play half, learn to play De La Hiva, learn to play reverse De La Hiva, and then you'll be shocked at what ends up coming together. I know when we first started training, you did pretty much all half guard. Yeah. And now you do pretty much all lasso Spider. The half guard's still there. If you get in trouble in like a position, you can use the half guard, but now you have a Spider game, right? And it's the kind of thing I see so common where guys are like, oh, that's not like my type of game or whatever. But like it's really, I think it's a dangerous way to think because you box yourself in too much. Let's see here. Hi, John. Please cover some collar sleeve. Open versus kneeling opponents, heavy pressure passer types. Yeah. So when the guys on both, on one knee up or both knees can be, I would say pressure is like a very broad term. That's very hard to answer that, right? Because a lot of different ways someone could pressure. They could have both your pants and like dig their head in. They could have double unders. It's very abstract, right? But like saying collar sleeve when the guy's on one knee up, I think is a little bit easier to pick apart. If the guy's on one knee up, like on the near side or far side would be different as well, right? If he's on this near side, chasing the omoplata or something or triangle on this side would probably be pretty hard. Usually what I would look to do here is I can sneak this foot in between this space here, like this, right? If I get here, now I can grab the ankle and start off balancing backwards, and it's easy to start working for a bolo. If you don't want to play that game here and I get in here like this, I could grab the ankle, turn this way a little bit, right? And then I could get this sleeve, push the hip out, and go for setup guard, which is one of my favorite games. If this gap is really tight here, like he's got that kind of space in there more, you can still look for this, like right here, because his arm is on the outside. I like this like kind of sleeve with a C grip on the wrist, and I clip up with my leg and I pop out here, and that's a fast arm bar, or they'll turn their arm and it hits into an omoplata. You can always check that. Worst case, if all this is really difficult, I might come back to a lasso and try to go double sleeve, right? And then I can start wheel sweeping this way, which will either sweep him or open this gap up. And then once I get my leg in this gap here, oh, they can see it. Yeah, once I get my leg inside this gap, even if the hook isn't in, he can't really sit back down in the same way. See, like here, like that, my foot's always in there now, right? Turn that way a little bit. Yeah. So once my foot's in there and he grabs here, see, now I'm here like this. Now I can again grab the ankle and start working, right? But in that sense, I wouldn't think about it like you have to stay in the collar sleeve. It's more like you're using, once I get good at all these different guards, I start using them as just different attack options. Like your guard retention is your base. That's what holds your game together, right? So if you make a mistake, that's what gives you a second chance. And then you're just trying different attacks. So if I'm playing collar sleeve and the guy goes to like one knee up and balls up super tight like this, you don't have to stay in collar sleeve. You can go, oh, let me switch up the De La Hiva. Let me try De La Hiva X. Let me try sit-up guard and just like navigate around. So I think if I'm playing the near side collar sleeve and the guy goes to one knee tight and like kind of balls up really tight there, I might open up to a little bit more guards because it can certainly be tricky to force them out of that kind of zone. Once I grab my espresso. Boom. All right, what question we have? How can I improve my cardio?
Fucking run.
Oh, man. So a lot of possible options there. That's like a very broad question. I would say I'm not an expert in this field. I work with my buddy Jason Gagnon. Is very knowledgeable when it comes to like cardio and conditioning, and like so you can get your cardio just from doing jiu-jitsu if you want. Like there's so many different ways to go about it. That's the first thing I would say is there's not one way, right? You could go into the gym and train 3 times a week, just like sparring, and just go batshit crazy on sparring, and your cardio is going to get good from doing that for sure, right? So you could just do jiu-jitsu alone for cardio, right? That would be fine. The thing I don't like about that is like I'm 32 and I'm still trying to compete at a high level. You know, I'm always dealing with injuries. So for me to get my hard cardio from jiu-jitsu rounds, I feel it can be a bit dangerous, right? Because how you fight if you're trying to win is very different than how you would fight if you're trying to push your cardio. For example, if I'm in a match and I'm up 2 points and I close my guard, I'm on bottom, right? I'm gonna hunt submissions, but I'm gonna be very smart with how I do it. And if I have a position where I almost got the guy choked, I'm gonna like sit there and take a second with the position, right? I'm not gonna rush it. But if you are thinking about pushing your cardio in the match, like being in close guard is super not good for pushing your cardio. You need to unlock your legs and go crazy and move, right? So in that sense, for me, I actually like to, when I do my trainings, I do a lot of specific training, working on my technique, trying to develop my timing. I do some regular rounds to try to identify how my game's working overall if it was a tournament. So I treat that more like a tournament. I pay attention to the score. I'm smart with my timing. I'm smart with my strategy. When I need to push my cardio to an insane level, then I actually like to do things like run stairs. You can do speed drills too, but I just feel like nothing compares to like running stairs or doing hill sprints and things like that, because those things, like it's you versus your cardio, right? Like if you're just running stairs, like, for 1 minute as hard as you can, like running on a big set of stairs or a hill sprint, you're going to push way harder than you will in like a jiu-jitsu match. So for me, I like to like 2 times a week do like really high intensity interval training and then do a lot of skill work on the side. And then one time I do like a long, slow distance run for like active recovery. But there's a lot of different like variables. I mean, I would say if you're doing some form of like hard cardio or like hard cardio where you're like sprinting or running or doing really hard rounds twice a week, and then the rest is like you're still rolling but not super, super hard, that's probably going to be enough.
Swimming is good if like you have issues with joints and shit.
Yeah, swimming can be good too. I have a shoulder injury, so I don't do swimming a lot right now. But the thing I like about stairs is I feel like it's super low impact, like just when you're going up the stairs, right? It's easy. But yeah, swimming is great too if you have good swimming form. But there's like a somewhat of a barrier of entry. Like the good thing with swimming is it's full body, right? But there's somewhat of a barrier of entry where like if you suck at swimming, like then like as I do, like my experience has been, I'm like, I want to push, and then like I get my timing off on the swimming, and then also I'm like, oh, and then I just start drowning, and then I have to stop. So it's like hard for me to hit that level. But if you were an excellent swimmer, for sure, that's a great one to do. Let's see here. Any tips on the loop choke from collar sleeve that Mergali uses? Seems like it could help when people are low and heavy with their hips. I was watching that, and I've been using the far side collar sleeve a lot, and like I think that setup was dope. But I don't really feel super sharp on it enough yet to really go in depth on it. I've definitely used loop chokes throughout my career. I think if you're playing that collar sleeve system, it is a really good option though. Like you're completely right, because like you're gonna fight some guys. Like for those that don't know what happened, right, we're here. We'll be you're over there. Yeah, like, he got this like far side position here attacking, and I think that elbow got tight, and then like Mergali's almost playing it like a lasso, which I like sometimes because people get kind of unexpecting for this to unlasso and turn into a triangle or something. So he was here like this, and I think he was on both knees. Yeah, and he might have even been trying to underhook this guy, like something like here, and he had that elbow kind of tight, and Mergali just kind of came up on his elbow here like this, and then when he was here, he just dipped into this guy here and hit that, and that was really slick, right? I think that's really good. Again, like the big thing I can always recommend when developing a attack, like the loop choke like that or something, you really have to work on the position itself, which would be far side collar sleeve, right? And then you have to have an emphasis on that attack, right? So like, for example, if I'm going with a Rosh, working the far side collar sleeve, and I'm like, I want to do the loop choke today, he may standing pass the entire time he's there, and it's never even going to be available because he's standing, right? I can only do that if he's in that position. So then I would either have to just work the collar sleeve as is until he comes to the ground, or I could tell him like, hey dude, can you try to pass a lot on the ground and try to set it up like that? But you have to be very particular with that. That's one of the hardest things. I'm going to post a video on close guard tomorrow on attacking from close guard. I talk about this a lot, is that there's a big difficulty people have, which is they start in, they pick an attack they want to do, and then they're trying to do that attack. But you, like, every attack comes from a position. Every single triangle choke you can think of comes from a position. Even if it's a flying triangle, it comes from the grip fight standing, right? So you need to understand what position your opponent's in and what they're actually leaving available. It may be a flying triangle, but if they're like this, it's not a flying triangle. You may have to snap them down to make them extend their arms out and then jump to the flying triangle, right? So in that sense, for the loop choke, I would work your far side collar sleeve system, and then, you know, either tell your opponent stay on both knees or fight them until they do come to the knees, and then start building off of that. Do you believe in weightlifting for BJJ? Yeah, for sure. I think weightlifting, or I've done both, like powerlifting and gymnastics for strength training. I think they're both awesome. I mean, I feel like they're almost a necessity as you get into a higher level. You don't need to overdo it, but like you should be trying to become stronger over time. And I always recommend like strong lifting, like, you know, 5x5, 3x5, 5x3 to become stronger as a supplement, right? Because if you do high volume jiu-jitsu, you don't get stronger, right? That's like a huge like confusion in the sport, is like, if you like, you know, when I was training in Atlanta, like, you know, at some point the guys there told me like, oh, you need to get strong, right? I was like, okay, so I Google, how do you get strong, right? I started looking into, you know, strength training. And if you look at all strength experts, you ever meet someone who's like strong naturally, the recommendation is really heavy, low rep, right? So for me, that's what I do. You know, either by like, you know, one arm pull-ups is really heavy. It's not like there's weight, but it's a really hard lift, right? So you should be doing maximal effort, 5x5, 3x5, something in that rep set range. And then you do that, and then do high volume jiu-jitsu too. And then that will add in some strength building and the jiu-jitsu. But if you just do 2 times a day, every day, you know, like 6 times a week and no like heavy lifting, you're not going to get strong. You're going to get weaker and probably injured a lot. Is there a trick to off balancing the opponent from underhook de la Riva? I saw your Andy Murasaki video, but I can't off balance the opponent to his knee. You're talking about off balance them forward, correct? Giovito, you're talking about like bringing them forward with it, you mean? We got a bit of a delay. These things fly by.
You do, man. It's like half an hour.
Yeah. And that's suck if like the whole thing was just not even streaming. So I've been going for like an hour. Let's see here. Inverted guard tips. Giovito, is there a trick to off balancing? Yes. Okay. Yeah, we got like a 30-40 second delay. Is the video quality good, guys? Yeah. So here's one thing that'll help with that off balance forward that I found. So it's like, again, like some of these things with positions can become really confusing because sometimes the key to a position is in the transition of the position. Okay. So this is a really good question that you asked. So just to show people what you're talking about, is there's this attack from underhook de la Riva. Let's go this way and back up a little bit. Good. Good. Okay. So there's this attack from underhook de la Riva here, where you use this right foot and you butterfly hook them forward like that. He may or may not drop to the knee, right? He could stay standing, right? I just got to work with what he gives me. And then you can come through and start building your attacks off of that, depending on how they respond. One thing for getting that initial off balance is I combine it with my collar sleeve, right? So what's going to happen here is if I'm in de la Riva like this, holding the ankle, and he's killed this leg, right, like that, okay, and then I try to underhook here, I'm like, you probably tried this, right, and you're very stuffed. It just feels bad. Or maybe he has the lapel here, he's pulling it tight and using his elbow here, and I just don't feel like there's any way I can bump him that way because I'm out of position. So what I would do is I would play collar sleeve first, like this. He goes elbow knee tight, right? I put my hook in like this, right? So now I have a strong hook. If I didn't, it's because he popped his leg straight, and then I go in for the triangle omoplata game, right? So he stays really tight. So now my hook is in, right? So once that hook's in, see, I can go really quick from here to underhooking here. Now the difference is when I go here like this,
with this hook in tight, it's way harder for him to get rid of this, right? So if he takes this hand to come up to try to push this down, right, he almost has to move his body weight out that a bit to get the angle of the pressure. And that makes it much easier to start spinning under, right? And again, I have to take what he gives me. So he stayed standing. So I just come around on the hip here.
But if you try to combine that with collar sleeve, understanding the combination that if you're attacking from the collar sleeve and the guy goes elbow knee tight, your De La Hiva hook comes in, right? If the De La Hiva hook is in, then what happens is when you go underhook De La Hiva, it's going to be way stronger because you have the hook, right? Then with that hook in, it's way easier to off balance him forward. And if he tries to push it out, usually he has to kind of step to the side a little bit because it's such a powerful hook once it's in. And then that will kind of move him, shift him that way. And then it makes it easier to spin under, right? So I know that's a bit complex if like some of the guys are newer in here, but it just shows you like the nuances of how jiu-jitsu works, right? And again, the only reason I can go that nuanced is I just spend like hours and hours and hours specific training, right? Like all the new knee shield stuff I'm posting, like right now, you know, it's hard for me to be on top because of my shoulder injury. I'm just spending like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, just starting in the knee shield and sparring from there, right? I just make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake until I start to recognize patterns, right? And once I get really good at that, then when I'm in a regular match and that position happens, I know what to do there because I've spent like, 20 hours starting from that position. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Man, there's so many questions. Where are you going? What are your go-to moves in half guard? Do you always try to get back to a more distance-based guard game? So right now, it depends on what you mean by half guard as well. The half guards that I play are sit-up guard. And again, half guard is kind of a broad term. So I don't play any deep half right now. Probably I'll get into it at some point, but it's just I've always avoided it just because I'm smaller and I just don't like having heavy people on me, but I do think you can make it work. So I've always avoided deep half. So right now, the half guards that I do play are like a knee shield, right? Which would be like, I think we can probably be good. Well, yeah, we got this one. Yeah. So like a knee shield one like this, like I'll play this kind, right? I'll play this kind where you come up and grab around the hip here with my right hand. I'm just grabbing around, catching his far hip. This is like the Lucas Lech one, right? And I hook up on this foot here. I like to have this sleeve when I do it, and I can bump him and start to work up there. So that's like the Lucas Lech half. And then I'll also play, I'll also like keep foot up. There you go. I'll also play like this kind here, like the sit-up guard game with like a single leg and this high lapel grip. And then you can like bump here and start to come up really like with that one. Those are the three I like to play. So I would say my go-tos, let's like look at the knee shield one. My go-tos with the knee shield is like I use 3 main attack series, or I guess I have 2 main concepts. Either I'm going to do more of like a half guard series, or I'm going to clear this leg out. I often use this position to get control of this sleeve, because if I can get this sleeve and now I can create the space to get this out, now I'm inside that elbow knee space on the far side. So here, if I can get this out here, that starts creating a lot of attack opportunity for collar sleeve. That's kind of like what Mergali was doing a little bit during the sideward fight, right? If it stays in, I just have to take what he gives me. And like guys will give you different things, right? So like here, like this, he's like kind of on that knee right now, right? Here, the way he is, I feel like I would want to come up and dig this underhook because he's like leaving it open, right? Here I can bump with my knee. I really like that one a lot. When I play these positions, I always like to have this sleeve. It just makes me feel so much more safe because I can bump, and it's really hard to pass against a sleeve grip, right? I can, if he's controlling the lapel a lot, that makes it hard to dig an underhook. So a lot of times I'll push, and I can get this lasso in and push there, and then that I can use that to help bring this out, right? Or as he starts messing with this, that'll start opening this up. Some guys will go both knees on the floor like this, right? And they do that because it makes it harder to kind of work on like the single leg stuff. And they're actually like digging for the underhook. And then I can take this right foot and feed it in like here. And now I'm starting to come into more like a butterfly game, right? So I think I talk a lot about like kind of initial intro guards that you can control. Like in the same way I ask someone what guard do you play and they say X guard. it's not really a good answer because X guard is a great guard, but it's like not easy to get to. You need easier grips to get to that you can build off. And so I always recommend like a single sleeve or a lasso game. Like a single ankle game is good, but I think the knee shield is really good as well, especially if you're like really uncomfortable with open guard. The knee shield is a great kind of platform to start building off. So that's why I'm starting to develop it as well. It's like I'm injured, and you know, I like to, one of my big things when I teach you guys is I want everything I show to be stuff that really works in real sparring. So I'm never going to show stuff that I'm like, oh, I saw this in a video, it looks cool. Like I go through the work of like, you know, putting in like 30, 40 hours in a position or something before I'm going to even talk about it, right? I got to spar there a lot to know. So right now, those are the big things I do. There's also a lot of those kind of off balance sweeps from there.
Let's see if we can get on this thing.
Right, or here like this. Like if he controls this, depending on where his weight is, if it's more driven this way, then like you can kind of do these ones where you pull the guy this way and load up overhead, which I don't want to flip him onto the hardwood, right? But I can kind of pull in this way, boom, and then start flipping up that way, right? And if he goes there, I can come out this way, right? If we're here and I feel his weight is more forward, like some guys are more like that, sometimes I can grab over here and pinch my elbow so he can't hand post and then roll through like that and dump him up there.
Right, so it's all, like, again, with any position, you have to like, what I do when I start developing on a new position is I get a lot of video of just like different people fighting from the position. I get a lot of ideas and inspiration, and you got to start understanding how the pieces of the puzzle fit. Because you may go, oh, I want to do this move, I want to do this move. But the way he's positioned, you have to do that off balance one, right? And then you start understanding how that off balance one will correlate with something else. So you got to start putting it all together. Okay. Okay, what is your favorite way to free your bottom leg and knee shield half guard against heavier guys from Al Jazari?
So if, like, ideally I like to do it while having the sleeve, right? Because if I have the sleeve and I can clear out here, then I have control, right? And then I can attack with it. So I love to do it with the sleeve. But if I like absolutely just like don't want to deal with this at all, right? What I'll do is if I go here, get the gi, turn my palm down so I can press my palm into his neck like this, and I'll come up on my elbow, right? And you see, I want to get that distance. So I'll come up and press here like this, and then that makes it much easier to yank this out. Right now I can come back out up here, right? Or I can just try to pull him back, and it depends on how he responds. But I got my foot out, right? Now I can come up here and start grip fighting in like kind of the more traditional way I would, like that and stuff. But that's an easy one to get out. But again, when you do that one, you don't come out with the sleeve, you just get your leg out. How do you keep your motivation high and avoid boredom when training every day for years? Good question. I just always tackle new projects. Like, again, like I always like, it seems like a lot of my answers to questions is like positions, but you know, my motivation comes from positions because every position is like its own game. So like if I'm doing, like, the knee shield, that's completely different than the spider game, right? So the fact that every game is so different, or if I start doing mount escapes, right? And I let someone start in full mount on me, there's so much nuance to escaping from the mount. Like, where's the guy's knee at? What if he's grabbing behind your head? What if he's grabbing this collar? What if he's grabbing this collar? And like, it becomes interesting again. So positions is why I'm always, so I like jiu-jitsu more now than I ever have, right? It's just because I always go deeper on a position. Anytime I get bored, I pick a new project. Like, oh, let me get good at half guard, and I just start going deep on that. Oh, let me get good at the, the key master. Let me go deep on that. And I just keep going position to position to position like that.
Also having like multiple stuff to be working on at all times is probably like
yeah. I think it just depends on the person as well. Like some people positions can be very boring, right? Like some people hate doing positions, right? That's like the worst part about jiu-jitsu for them is having to do positional training. For me, that's like the most exciting thing, right? So you try to, I think I can explain to people what's the best way to get better. What do I think is, if you have someone starting from scratch to make that person become better, I can explain to you what I think is the best way for someone to learn. But that being said, it just depends on the person, right? Like some people will hate doing positions. I think it's super necessary for learning fast. So you may need to go, oh, I'm going to do 20% of my training as positions and 80% as regular training. that's fine, right? But you figure out where the balance is for you, what keeps you motivated. But for me, it's definitely doing the positions, right? Can you give some tips sparring with big guys with spider guard? So yeah, that's kind of like a broad question. It would be like, for me, honestly, when I play lasso spider, the reason I play lasso spider is I feel like it scales so well against like a big opponent, right? Of any guard that I play, like I can roll with like, I've rolled with like black belt world champion heavyweights, and I feel very comfortable in lasso spider because all my systems work basically the same. So honestly, to me, there's really no difference in what I do versus a small person or a heavy person when I'm in spider, right? If I come in on like a half guard position, I feel kind of like, when I spar there, I get out of position, it gets really bad quick if it's a heavy person. With lasso spider, it feels pretty much the same. I did a video on controlling lasso spider. I need to look it up. It's on my YouTube. It's one of my earlier videos. It's like the basics of spider, double sleeve, or like look it up. It's probably in my first 20, 30 videos. There's a video on how to play spider. And that one for sure shows a lot of the basics of control, like how to stop like the guy from looping your leg, how to stop the guy from getting out of the lasso, how to stop the guy from like popping your hook down. That's the main thing. But really, I don't do anything different if the guy's big. I know that sounds crazy, but it's more just like how the little details work. Like if the guy deadlifts, let your upper back come up, and like little things like that. Let's see here. Just can you use it to sparring with guys, spider guard. Could you show us the over-under counter that Lapre showed you? You mentioned in the last Q&A. Yeah, sure.
So this is a really good one. I'm trying to think what's the best. This is probably a good angle. Okay, so over-under pass for people to know. He's basically got this like trap, kind of like a butterfly hook, and then he's trying to like bear hug over it like this. Right, I really don't want to let him get that deep. Okay, most of the time, if I see someone's going in for an over/under, I can sense they're going for it, and I'll double post on their shoulder here. Right, I'll double post on their shoulder here, and I just want to keep my knee out. If my knee's up here, he's not going to do the pass. He's got to get this leg extended to do the pass, right? So I always just frame this early. You probably want to grab more like here. Yeah, and then turn your arm backwards and kind of stiff arm. Yeah, like that, right? So that's usually kind of how they're doing. You can grab my hand here, right? So then his other hand, yeah, is grabbing like the belt here, like this. And I usually am double pushing here, trying to retract my knee out. There's a battle here. If I get this out, usually I can loop this foot in and go, okay? But let's just say we're kind of stuck somewhere in the middle here. Usually what I look to do is I'm going to take my left hand, grab over on his armpit here. My left leg extends down, and now I'm going to bring it back behind his head like this, and that's going to face plant him into the floor. From here, I'll sit up and grab the belt. I pin my elbow behind his head. Left arm will hook this leg, and then sometimes you can get the back. Sometimes you just drive and dig them over. But man, this is so effective, right? We'll do it at the other side. Here, so you're over-undering. Yeah, that's is that what yeah, that's good. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so hold the hip here and turn that way. So yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so I go here, I'm framing that other side, you can't see it. I get the armpit here, I go straight with this leg, and then it's like I bring it back that way, right? So it's like swoops up this way and drives his head to the other side forward, like this, right? Come back up. All right, so we go here, boom, like that. I bump him forward with the knee pressure there, that drives his head in the floor. Now my right arm grabs the belt, digs his head into the floor like this. I sit up, I like to hook this leg here with my arm, and I just drive and dig up over here. Right, worst case you'll get out, but a lot of times you'll even get the sweep for sure. Let's see here. Keenan said that single leg X is the most effective guard in jiu-jitsu right now. You agree? If so, why? I mean, I would say it's probably one of the more, like, I like single leg X a lot. It's probably one of the more common sweeping positions in jiu-jitsu. Honestly, my favorite sweeping guard in jiu-jitsu is the sit-up guard, like Lapre style, like single leg, like sit-up guard. I think that's probably, for me, if I'm fighting like a really heavy guy, I feel very comfortable, smooth there. If I fight like a really heavy guy and I get single leg X and they know how to be heavy, I feel like they get heavy really quick. Although like I play my single leg X a little bit different now. I'm like looser on it. So if they want to back step out of it, I don't mind. And I switch up to cross guard or matrix. But
I don't know. I feel like, trying to think in terms of like what is the most effective guard right now. Like it's like you can probably talk about probably single leg X is a more common one, but like try like to just think like learn all the positions separately and independently. You're gonna find certain ones click, right? Because often you'll see this in jiu-jitsu where everyone's like, oh, it's all about this position, it's all about position, this is where it's at, this is where it's at. And then someone just like starts playing collar sleeve again and wrecking everyone, like Tommy Langaker did with the far side collar sleeve, right? Or then someone will start playing like close guard again a lot, like Rudson Mateos, and he starts killing everyone. And then everyone's like, oh my God, it's all this. Oh my God, it's all that. Right. And everyone's like chasing these trends. Like for a long time, it was like deep half was like the big thing. And then it was like, Barambolos, and then it was 50-50, and then it was worm guard. And there's like all these trends. Just learn everything and try to be yourself a bit. You know what I mean? Like just play this position, get good at it, and then learn the other one. Like you're never going to regret learning to play spider guard, for example. If you go, I'm just going to spend a month and get good at spider guard. You get decent at it. Like maybe you're not the best in the world, but you get decent at it. You're always going to understand how it works. You're going to be better at passing it in the future, right? And it's just a nice thing to have in your game, right? And you just tackle each position like that. And you'll find out yourself from experience what does work good for you and what clicks with you. You may end up going, well, I just love this position, because even if a position's effective, if you play it and it just doesn't feel fun for you and you don't like it, you're not going to want to play it, right? So just try to play a lot of positions, learn them, be open to learning things, and then your game will kind of naturally piece itself together. TI, I don't know who TI is. Do you prefer gi or no gi? I think they're both really interesting. I definitely prefer gi. I pretty much only do gi right now anyway, just because I'm trying to really focus on winning at the Worlds at black belt in the gi. And that's like a hard enough task. I just don't want to like separate myself. But I think it's super interesting, especially all the heel hook stuff is a very interesting thing. Probably when I'm like really done with serious competing or like focusing on that, then I'll probably get into that stuff and then start putting out more content on that. But right now it's like not really my focus. But as far as like why, I guess there's just more like with the gi, there's just more possibility of complexity. It's like there's no gi and there's all these awesome things there. But then like when you add the gi, you have so many more like riddles and entanglements and stuff. It's just kind of interesting. As far as for which one's more realistic, which is a common thing, I don't know. I think this truth is somewhere in between, because like if you get into a fight, usually the person's not like in spats, or oiled up in board shorts, right? Like they usually have like jeans or a shirt on, right? So it's somewhere in between. Like the idea that you're in a fight and you can just slide out of everything, right? Or that the guy doesn't have like something to grab, right? Or like even if you're like fighting, like you grab like someone's sleeve if they're wearing like a jacket or something, that's somewhat realistic. So I think that both have their merit, and I like both. What are some of your favorite ways to open up the elbow knee space in collar sleeve when the guy is being tight so you can attack the omoplata? I covered that a bit earlier. So Cody Heller, if you go back on the video, I kind of cover some of that. I don't know if you came in a little bit later. But yeah, let's take another one. Let's see here. Can you show us the over under? Keenan said single leg X. Big fan. Thank you. Thanks, John. No problem, buddy. Hey, John, do you have any plans for training camps and seminars in Europe? Yeah, so I'm doing a Portugal camp July 1st to July 8th in Algarve. It's Camp Aristos. I can put a link on it on the description of this post when this gets posted, because this will auto post as a post. I'll put a link for that. Also, I'm going to Ireland like the beginning of August. I'm doing a camp in Stockholm in the beginning of August. What else am I doing in Europe? I'm going to Latvia August or September. I gotta look at the dates, but it's like early September. It's like September 15th to the 25th or something like that. Okay, let's see here. For a hobbyist, local competitor, this is Hinare. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. For a hobbyist, local competitor training 1 to 2 hours 4 times a week, what do you think about developing separate games for gi, no gi? Do you think prioritizing guards that work in both makes sense? Well, first off, I would say you describe yourself as like a hobbyist. 4 times a week, 1 to 2 hours is pretty good, man. Like when I won the Pan Ams my first time at Blue Belt, I think I was training like 3-4 times a week. But but I just did all really smart training. And then I watched a lot of competition footage, which is an easy way for a lot of people to improve their game fast. Is if you just were training 3 times a week and you added on top of that, like 3 times a week watching 30 minutes of competition footage, it would help your game a lot, right? That's an easy way for people to get better without being on the mat. I would say, as far as like building a game that works gi and no gi, I don't really like that so much. Like I understand, I think that there is a reality to that, but man, some of the positions just function so differently. It just depends on your goal. I don't know. Like for me, it's just about having fun, right? So like I wouldn't like, I would just play in the butterfly guard, spend like a month on that maybe, and just get really good at it, feel comfortable. And then I would spend time on a lasso, do that and feel comfortable. And like, if it's a hobby for you, you got to keep it fun. So if you find playing the worm guard super fun, just do it. Who cares if it doesn't work out for your no-gi, right? You're not making a career off it if it's like local and hobbyist, right? So just do what you find fun. Find positions you find fun and do them, whether they work gi or no-gi or not. And you'll be surprised that like some things kind of end up helping when you don't expect them and stuff. But I feel like if you're always trying to like correlate, like how is this going to work no-gi, and like can I do this sleeve no-gi, you're just going to get confused. Just be like, okay, this is for no-gi, this is for gi, and just do both, and you're probably going to naturally find some correlation, but I wouldn't stress it too much. Hey John, thank you for all the great content. I have one question. How do you defend smash pass when the opponent has already the good grips? It sometimes happens when I play double sleeve. Okay, so smash pass is a very like vague term. Do you mean like double underhooks, over under, or like a folding pass? We got a delay. Hey Makahan, keep up the good work. With you, any strategy tactics for beating, passing, lapel guard type situations? Which grips or points of control do you look to break or address? Okay, so my current, I'll wait for the smash pass question to follow up. My current kind of method for dealing with like the lapel guards, and the word lapel guards is like a loose term for like any guard controlling the lapel. But it's a bit misleading because it makes it sound as if it's like, oh, it's pretty similar, but they're massively different, right? Like squid guard and worm guard are as similar as like spider guard and like, De La Riva guard. They're just very, very different things. And they each require very different solutions. So generally, I would say I'm probably weaker at fighting the squid guard than the worm guard. I think the worm guard is more threatening. Like if someone has me in worm, I'm more worried about getting swept them out or submitted. Whereas squid guard, I feel like I could just succeed the sweep kind of, but it feels way harder to pass. Whereas worm guard, I feel like I can actually pass, right? So for me, when I'm approaching someone's guard, I would always filter them to worm rather than exposing squid. So like, let's say you have this lapel, right? If I'm here, I'm going to be leading with my right leg. And I don't care if he like lassos or lassoing this or something. As he like shoots this deep or something like here, I'll try to push this down as he's doing that. And I feel very comfortable with my worm pass systems here. I have a good pass system for worm, ringworm, and the Dela worm, or reverse Dela worm, ringworm, and worm. And I feel pretty good as people go to these to set it up. I work with Andres Spanovsky a lot on it. So I have a lot of experience in those positions. So here, if the guy wants to go to the squid, it's really hard to go to the squid. Usually squid happens because as the guy tries to get a worm, start trying to get a worm, like here, it's like you step back, right? And then that exposes the squid. Yeah. So feed the squid. Yeah. And that exposes the squid guard, right? Because you start trying to like, as the guy's trying to set up the worm on this, you start like, oh no, you step back and then he feeds this, right? So for me, I just like lead with the right leg and I start dealing with that. And my pass for the worm, reverse worm, and ringworm, sorry. And there's also the bullish worm right here. My pass for all of those are very different, right? So loose answer for passing the one big thing I do is like usually like when I'm entering, like I'll be in like Dela Riva. So as soon as the guy starts touching this, I'm already pushing this down. So as he feeds it, I usually have trapped it. So go ahead and feed it to like just there you go. Yeah, and feed it to go to a ringworm. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah. So he's in like ringworm. So in ringworm, I have to do more of like an underhook finish. So I usually control the lapel in the pant leg here like this, and I'll go here, and I just kind of balance out here. Usually the guy will try to bump me up a little bit. As he does, I catch this underhook with my right arm, and then I pull and I go over the head. From here, I get a deep underhook, and I slowly start working my knee back here towards the floor. Usually here is only option is to try to switch to the reverse yellow worm, but then I'll drop my shin over that. It's hard to see, like there. If he stays in the ringworm, okay, I just take my time and work my way back here like this, and that shoulder pressure will break it, and I work from there. But man, each of those, I'll have to do videos on those because each of those are very in-depth, right? They're very, very in-depth. And then like what to do if it's out. Like if I've already trapped the foot, that's one thing. But there's another thing of like, if the foot's out, how do you manage the foot being out and dealing with that, right? Let's see here. How do you think watching competition would help? What is your approach to watching it in a way that improves your jiu-jitsu? All right, guys, we got like 5 more minutes. So I'm going to tackle this question of how to study jiu-jitsu, and then maybe one more. Let's see here. How do you think watching competition footage helps? What is your approach to watching? Yeah, so the big thing with watching competition footage is that you can't like, okay, if you're like a beginner, for example, you know, maybe you know some stuff from closed guard. If you watch a match, it's going to be gibberish. You'll have no idea what's going on, right? Because it's just like, just two people just like in a, like, you know, poof cloud. It makes no sense. But if you understand what closed guard is, then what will happen is as you're watching, it's just like a mess, and they get to closed guard, and then your brain will be able to process, oh, they're in closed guard, right? Because you've seen that before. You know what that is, right? So if you spend a lot of time sparring in closed guard, then you'll be able to go, oh, okay, like he's got his hand here, you know, and then you'll see the guy do some grip, you know, maybe you're watching and then like the guy on bottom and you're trying to understand how to fight from it when you're on bottom. He'll be in a position you have a hard time with. Like the guy's got both lapels high like this, right? And then you see him do something where he like feeds the lapel over the wrist, right? And you go, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll try that next class, right? But it's relevant to stuff that you're in. All that other stuff will just be gibberish. Now, if someone who's more advanced, who's been training a long time, watches it, I can watch a match from start to finish and be like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Like when they're in the 50-50, I'm like, oh, he's grabbing the pants this way, not this way. That's interesting. Oh, I like how he has his elbow here, right? And you can see deeper, but you can only do that with the more positions you know. So when you study jiu-jitsu, you have to watch for positions, right? And if you don't know all the stuff going on, or you're trying to learn something specific, like if I want to study like Tommy Langer's collar or sleeve, like I'll fast forward to the spot where it's happening and I just analyze that and rewind, and I'll take notes. I'm like, okay, try grabbing this way. You know, when the guy pops his leg straight, see if the omoplata opens there. And I come up with ideas, and that influences me when I go into the specific training the next day, starting from that position. I have all these new ideas to test out, right? And some will be good, some will be bad, right? You have to understand that when you can't really just study film and come up with all these genius ideas and then it works, right? You study film and then you analyze, you come up with all these little possible ideas, and then you test them in your sparring, and some will work a lot, most will not. I would say like 80% or 90% of what I come up with is just crap, right? But I test until I find like one little thing that clicks for me and works, and then it slowly pieces my game together that way. So you have to just break it down by position. And then as you get higher level, you'll know a lot of positions so you can watch a full match. But in the beginning, just like, you know, find someone that's good at the position you want to play, skim to that point in the match where they're in that position, and then just kind of watch that spot is how I would recommend doing it. How come when I get choked, I got to tap or I'll go to sleep? I don't know, man. Okay. How do you stop someone from running to the non-lasso side as you put in the lasso or have it? You mean like passing to the right?
You're about like once I have this here, right? Like this. So if he's here, worst case if he circles, I would just grab this, right? So like if we're here, if he ever touches this, I'm gonna grab this. But like if this is kind of bad here, I could just always center up using that until I'm here and I grab my here. Then I'll just grab here when he grabs this. If he keeps hiding this, keep hiding it like that, then you know, then I might switch to collar sleeve or cross sleeve if he hides this sleeve. But if he ever grabs this, I'm always gonna grab this. And now I can go here, I can break here, I can go to De La Diva, set up guard, I can go to collar sleeve there, different stuff starts to open there.
All right, guys, one more conceptual question. We got 30 seconds left. I'll go over, but let's have a conceptual question and then we'll bounce. Your favorite BJJ fighters? Okay, I'll answer that real quick while we wait for another conceptual question. I like watching Mergali a lot. I like watching Langaker, Lucas Lepre, Leandro Lowe. Mikey. Yeah, Mikey's awesome. He's like super, super good. I'm just not studying him a lot right now because those matches tend to get really like entangly. But like I would say my favorite to watch is probably Mikey's amazing. But I would say my favorite to watch are like Mergali, Langaker, Lowe, and maybe less Lowe now. Lowe used to be so much more exciting when he was lightweight. So Mergali, Langaker. Who was the third one I said?
Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas. Yeah, I like watching Lucas's setup guard a lot. Let's see. Concept question. How do you deal with someone passes very good on their knees over under style, stuffing the leg from daily? Best way to deal with strong posture and close. Hey, what's up, Scott? Good to see you, bud. Or good to see your handle. Best way to deal with strong posture and close guard. I would say just do the hip bump sweep really hard. It depends on how far back they're posturing. But I mean, if you come up on that like hip bump sweep, that's going to drive them back into you a lot. Actually, I'm posting a video on the closed guard tomorrow on just kind of like developing a basic system for attacking from closed guard. So I'll cover some of that in there. And pinning are separate. Okay, here we go. Do you feel passing, overcoming the legs, and pinning are separate skills that need to be developed independently? That's a great question. Yeah, I do. I really do. I think something I did that really helped me a lot when I was probably a blue belt was at some point, I was trying to learn to pass the guard. And at that point, like being on top was like terrifying. And I just decided to get really good at side control because I basically couldn't hold side well, right? So if you couldn't, you should out to the uki. What does that mean?
Shout out.
Oh, shout out to the uki. Yeah, it's Arash, Jonathan Vu. Do you know Arash, Jonathan Vu? All right, this is Arash Javanbach. So trains with me, one of the top students. Sorry, what was I talking about?
Talk about the.
Oh yeah, it's like great question. Yeah, that was an awesome question. Yeah, I think pin escapes and holding pins, I think is super huge for developing your passing and your guard retention. I started in judo, and the only time we did ground for a long time was just pin escapes. So there's a lot of different pin escapes in judo. You have like Yoko Shiokatami, which is like side control basically. You have like Tani Shiokatami, which is basically mounts. You have like Kesagatami, which is like kind of like a head and arm style control. And there's all these different controls, right? So me getting good at escaping really developed my retention. And for my passing, me learning to hold side really well definitely made a big payoff for developing my passing. Because if you think about it, to pass the guard, you have to get around the legs and hold side control for 3 seconds. So if you can't hold side control effectively, no matter how good you are at getting around the legs, it's irrelevant because you won't be able to hold, right? So if you start in side control on someone and they get out really easy, you'll never pass their guard, right? That's like the reverse perspective of retention. I'm so good at escaping side that almost no matter how bad I mess up, I get out because I can just mess up, and I keep like sneaking my way back in, right? Thanks for putting on the live chat. I'll try to overcome my Midwesternism and ask questions. Is that a Midwestern thing, being afraid to ask questions on YouTube? Cool. Well, thanks for joining in, guys. I'm going to post a video tomorrow on closed guard attacking stuff. Comment and let me know if you guys have any more questions, and we'll do another live stream maybe in a week or something. All right, guys. Thanks.